Aggravating, irritating, and potentially deadly, no other insect is quite as annoying as the buzzing barbecue killer, the mosquito. But these insects are also the disease-spreading, blood-sucking vampires of the animal kingdom. Their microscopic bite causes red, itchy bumps that can last for days or weeks. But beyond the nuisance factor, these little bloodsuckers wreak havoc the world over. Aside from the annoyingly itchy bite side, it's the viruses they carry that are really dangerous. Malaria is their best-known deadly disease, but there's so many more.
Australia's in the hot seat when it comes to mosquito-borne diseases. It seems like every year I'm here, there's something new coming on, some new invading disease, some new invading mosquito.
A mosquito bite turned Ian Shader's life upside down. He's a survivor of a rare but deadly mosquito-borne disease, Muỗi Valley encephalitis. This virus can cause brain tissue to swell, swelling that may cause paralysis, coma, or even death.
Like the worst hangover you've ever had times 10, and it doesn't go away.
Ian had his dream job, living and working in the Australian outback. But one work trip into the desert marked the beginning of hell.
In May 2011, I was asked to drive out to Fitzroy Crossing, which is about 4 or 5 hours east of Broome. On the way out there, my car broke down.
The 2011 wet season was particularly bad, with vast flooding across Queensland and northern Australia. When Ian set out for Fitzroy Crossing, the clouds had cleared and warm, stagnant water was everywhere, the perfect breeding ground for mosquitoes. Ian ended up spending 3 hours stranded on the side of the road, 3 hours next to a mosquito-infested swamp. 3 hours that changed his life forever.
My car broke down at about 4:35 p.m. I didn't get picked up till about 8, and in that time I got probably the worst amount of mosquito bites I've ever had in my life. I got absolutely chewed. The mosquitoes were biting me through my clothes. I'd been given a hiking shirt, like one that I was wearing driving out there, supposedly insect-proof, but I do remember rolling up my sleeve at one point, to spray more of this spray on. There were like the rivulets of blood where I've been bitten that much.
Ian doesn't know how many mosquitoes attacked him, but by the time he was rescued, his body was covered in more than 50 puncture wounds.
I remember thinking this isn't good because I got savaged. I couldn't escape them, that was a scary thing.
There are roughly 300 species of mosquito in Australia, but not all are dangerous to humans. They range from 4 to 6 millimeters in size, with 6 legs and a pair of wings. The head is armed with a long proboscis to pierce skin. Males are sweet nectar-loving types and only live for about a week. It's the females that feed on animal blood. Their lifespan is a month, plenty of time to spread disease. A female mosquito can suck 2 to 3 times its weight in blood. Being a mosquito meal is no fun, but they're just getting the nutrients they need to develop and lay eggs.
When it comes to feeding on blood, it varies with the species. Aedes aegypti, the dengue mosquito, feeds almost exclusively on humans. There's a mosquito called the brown house mosquito that feeds almost exclusively on birds. And you get a lot of our nuisance mosquitoes here feed on things like wallabies and kangaroos and possums, but if you're out there in the bush, they'll feed on you.
Most people don't know the danger of mosquitoes, swatting them away without a thought, or even unaware they're being attacked, until it's too late. For Ian, feeling agitated and grumpy was the first sign that something was wrong. Then overnight, the virus hit with full force.
I woke up the next morning, hallucinating this woman above my head, diarrhea in my sleeping bag, crying. I was screaming at one point, and there's things I don't remember. I was told things. I tried to get up and walk and fell on my face, and pretty out there stuff, but I don't remember it. Thank God.
Doctors suspected a mosquito-borne virus. They took Ian's blood, and when the results came back, the news they delivered was devastating.
He said, "You have a potentially fatal virus. You should call your family. There's nothing we can do, but I think you'll be okay." So I was no Ross River, no Barmah Forest, no dengue, no Kunjun, which is another one, but my Muỗi Valley level was right up, and they just said, "You've got Muỗi Valley encephalitis."
If you get Muỗi Valley encephalitis, or MVE, it's likely your temperature will soar, your head will pound, you'll become confused and feel so tired you can barely move. In the worst cases, the virus causes fits and seizures.
People can't believe that something as small as a mosquito, someone like me who was surfing all the time and running around the desert, basically spent a year of my life in and out of bed.
The virus lives in water birds and is carried by mosquitoes into humans. Many victims end up in hospital, but there's no cure and treatment is limited.
Murray Valley encephalitis seems to be restricted for the most part to the tropics, like the Kimberley, Northern Territory. Those are the areas where you never see large numbers of cases. You might only have a couple, 2 or 3 human cases a year. But because the outcome is so devastating, with death, or you could be in a coma for the rest of your life.
Another nasty disease carried by mosquitoes is Ross River virus, and it's much more common. Found all over Australia, there are more than 5,000 cases each year.
Almost everyone in Australia probably knows someone who's had Ross River. I've had it and didn't know I had it. There are a lot of mosquitoes who carry Ross River, and it's extremely common, particularly in the summer. It tends to get you sort of an arthritis thing, where you aches and pains, you feel tired, and as I say, you have a hard time opening a stubby.
Dengue fever doesn't last that long, but it usually hits harder.
Here in the Cairns area in North Queensland, we've got what we call the dengue mosquito. So every year, during particularly the wet season, we seem to get dengue outbreaks up here. And dengue can make you quite ill. Only rarely does it kill you, but it can make you quite ill.
The dengue mosquito loves humans and loves to make a home out of your home. Scott Ritchie calls them the cockroaches of mosquitoes because they usually live in houses, and just one mosquito can cause a dengue outbreak.
They usually have this blinding headache, a lot of vomiting. Sometimes they vomit so much they have to go to the hospital because they can't stop, and they get dehydrated. And they usually get a very bright rash. Sometimes they lose their hair. And a real severe case, they can have hemorrhaging and go into shock. So it's not a fun disease.
And don't be fooled, this tiny insect is not a stupid animal. The dengue mosquito has an uncanny ability to avoid being caught in the act.
The female Aedes aegypti is, if you're going to feed on humans, the one thing you've got to avoid is the slap. They bite you down by the ankles, which is about as far away as you can be from, a guy giving a swat. So that gives them that extra millisecond to get away. And they tend to be extremely skittish. So as soon as you feel an aegypti and try to move, they're off. And so what you end up with is you'll get one female Aedes aegypti that might end up being flushed away from several people it was trying to feed on. And in a sense, bite several people. In one house, you might get 4 or 5 people come down with dengue, and it was from, one single mosquito.
Dengue feels like the worst flu you've ever had. It used to be called breakbone fever because of the pain that racks your body. Ian didn't die from his brush with mosquitoes, but it took him more than a year to recover from MVE.
I couldn't get up off the couch. Sometimes I had to crawl to do things. Like, it was really bad. I had weird rashes would appear. About 2 months after I first got diagnosed with it, this gland in my neck swelled up so much, and I've never had it before or since. I couldn't swallow properly. It was like a golf ball. It felt terrible. I've described it to friends. It's like year zero. Like, I'd wake up and I wouldn't know where I wouldn't know who I was.
Mosquitoes don't care who they target. They carry disease by accident. Their blood-sucking ways are all focused on one thing: feeding the next generation.
People say, why? Why do we have mosquitoes? Why did God create mosquitoes? This sort of stuff. I think the main purpose of mosquitoes is just to pass their genome on, carry on the tradition of the family, so to speak.
A tradition that Ian is more than happy to squash.
They're the only animal I'm quite happy to kill. I'll let spiders out of the house, but if I see a mosquito, I'm pretty happy to finish it off, I don't like them.